Good evening, everyone. Severe Weather Team 9 meteorologist Nathan Judd joining you for this edition of Nate at 8. We are tracking those showers and thunderstorms present for this evening, and we'll watch a lot of this taper off overnight, only to have more showers and thunderstorms return tomorrow. So that's a bit of what we're going to be talking about for this edition of Nate at 8. Those scattered showers and thunderstorms continuing here this evening, tapering off overnight, but only more likely return for tomorrow. And we just get into that daily cycle likely as we are extending going throughout the course of this weekend, and I think really into a lot of next week as well. Severe thunderstorm flooding potential, yes, it's there on a daily basis, both likely more isolated, but yes, we can deal with the potential for severe weather and localized flash flooding concerns on a daily basis going through this weekend, and again, quite possibly into next week as well. And during this stretch, remaining warm and humid, not a lot of hot days in the mix, but certainly warm days, a lot of 80s ahead. Friday could end up being the coolest day where highs can hold in the 70s, but as you'll see in a minute, there's just unfortunately not too much. Some relief from the humidity, but really just staying in that range of uncomfortable to unbearably humid conditions, and we're really not getting out of that. Maybe at times drop towards the mid 60s, but that's still for a dew point. We start that range of uncomfortably humid at that point. It's more tolerable at 60 to 65, but we're likely even not even dipping into the lower 60s or near 60 at any point here soon. So still just going to remain overall a humid stretch of weather. So we jump and look at live radar right now. Thankfully, that we're seeing a lot of these showers and thunderstorms start to lose the intensity that they had going into the earlier part of this evening. And we did deal with some severe thunderstorms in the region, producing some high wind gusts, moving through Monroe County, the other moving out of Ohio and into Brooke County. It was where we saw some of those highest wind speeds into the southeastern portion of Monroe, then also into the northern part of Ohio County, especially northwestern part of Ohio County, and then more the southern part of Brooke County. We saw some of the highest wind speeds registered in those locations as we dealt with a couple of severe thunderstorms. A potential was there producing wind gusts, not only upwards of 60 miles per hour, but I think even in excess of 60 miles per hour. So what we're left with right now, thankfully, those real high wind gusts are starting to subside. And again, in the intensity, a lot of what remains is starting to subside as well. And while we did have some severe thunderstorms come to fruition, not really getting that the flooding concern coming into fruition. We dealt with quite a bit of rain in spots, but these thankfully have been progressing fast enough and not training over the same location to deal with flooding, at least in our area. There were some flooding concerns just outside of our region, looking into Washington County, and then dealing with more flooding concerns towards Allegheny County, just north there of Pittsburgh. So definitely some flooding concerns for locations just outside of our region. Thankfully, nothing coming to fruition for our area. So right now, I'd say the strongest thunderstorm that we are seeing currently moving into Ohio County, impacting the Wheeling area. So moving back in where we did see that severe thunderstorm earlier into this evening. We will look at what radar is estimating with this right now. And we're looking at those wind speeds. And let's see if we can get an estimate, 53 and upwards of 50 miles per hour. So that's where our gusty winds are right now. That's where we're dealing with some of that strong thunderstorm that remains, still potentially producing some gusty winds. Again, outside of that, it's a much more quiet sight from what it does linger. And even as that does pass, then that's likely going to be it in terms of any dealing with some gusty winds or any potential there for a strong thunderstorm. Once that does pass, going through Ohio County and into areas into southern Brooke, possibly again, then we'll start to see anything impactful likely start to subside. So in terms of storm reports, nothing surprisingly coming out of Monroe County. I really thought we'd have more wind damage, which maybe there's still some reports yet to filter in out of Monroe County, but we did have some with the other thunderstorm that was in portions there of out of Ohio and into Brooke County. So we did have a couple of storm reports of wind damage for these locations, numerous trees down in Wellsburg, and numerous trees down McKinleyville. So that's where we saw some of those higher winds earlier into the evening out of Brooke County, where radar was estimating upwards of 60 mile per hour wind gusts with that severe thunderstorm. And we're even in excess of 60 miles per hour in the southeastern portion of Monroe County. So that's why I was surprised. Maybe there was some, I'm certainly sure there was some damage, but just likely not being reported yet so far in Monroe County. But we'll watch for that potential there. For some more storm reports coming in out of Monroe County. Now, in terms of flood reports, again, dealing with some flooding outside of our area, but thankfully have not had flood reports inside of our area so far for this evening. And again, thankfully, what does remain likely not producing any flooding. Again, we'll watch that strong thunderstorm moving back into Ohio County, producing some gusty winds, likely not going to gain much more steam to become severe, but still some higher winds moving back into Ohio County and possibly southern Brook again with that strong thunderstorm that remains this evening. But again, thankfully, in terms of any potential for severe weather, I think that potential is starting to drop. And again, the flooding threat thankfully starting to drop as well, as we're starting to lose the intensity of these thunderstorms, producing those torrential downpours that we had earlier into the day. And despite not dealing with flood reports, again, still a lot of rain falling into portions of the region where we dealt with these thunderstorms, locations picking up a quick 1 to 2 inches of rain as we saw some of those higher amounts coming in from this evening. We saw radar estimate some of those higher amounts into portions of the region where estimates were starting to reach close to 2 inches, but easily upwards of an inch, a little more than an inch of rain fell where we were dealing with those thunderstorms of radar estimating. So yeah, certainly some torrential downpours, and again, even in showers, just some heavy downpours. And that's the issue that thankfully not coming to fruition today, but we're still going to be watching on a daily basis that when we're dealing with such high rainfall rates of 1, 2 or more inches per hour, even possibly 3 or more inches per hour, some very high rainfall rates with these torrential downpours within thunderstorms, that certainly that possibility of flooding is there. Today, with the faster progression, it's more of that issue of any training of thunderstorms over location, not a single storm, but if we were to have gotten that storm building back over the same location, and you're dealing with a longer period of that torrential downpour, that would have then yielded that flooding threat. But again, thankfully, not coming to fruition for this evening. And again, at this point, what we do see remain, which will jump back towards radar before we do move on to the future cast. Again, thankfully, what does remain, a lot of this is more of a shower activity now at this point. Again, really just watching this thunderstorm continuing moving into Ohio County, extending up there towards Beach Bottom, then south through Ohio County, east of the Wheeling area. Again, still a torrential downpour with this, but it's progressing fast enough that likely not going to be yielding flooding from this. And again, some gusty winds still with this. We'll still watch. There's still some gusty winds as the storm does pass, and we're dealing with that potential to deal with some of these wind speeds still upwards of at least about 50 miles per hour. So some gusty winds as this strong thunderstorm passes through Ohio County. Again, that can extend then into that southern part of Brooke County as well, up towards Beach Bottom, then looking east towards Bethany, areas then West Liberty, Wheeling, right? Those locations, and then further east through Ohio County, further east through southern Brooke County. Still some gusty winds potentially with this strong thunderstorm. Once this does pass, then again, what does remain likely, we'll start to lose any potential impacts of gusty winds or even potential for flooding will start to subside. And a lot of this activity now, as we extend past 8 o'clock, we get up closer to 10 o'clock, 11. I think that's when a lot of this activity here over the next couple of hours will start to taper off. So, we're still obviously dealing with some showers and thunderstorms now, but as we do extend going through the first half of the night, just like what Futurecast is showing, you'll notice 10, 11 o'clock leading up to midnight, a lot of this tapers off, right? Anything lingering likely then tapers off completely late tonight into tomorrow morning. And we can spot something more isolated Thursday morning, and then coverage will pick back up with scattered showers and thunderstorms into the afternoon, evening hours tomorrow. It does look like the emphasis Thursday is going to be more along and south of I-70 that will deal with that higher concentration of those scattered showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. And yes, much like today, the potential is there for localized flash flooding. Potential is there for a strong to severe thunderstorm that can produce some high winds. Same story as we had for today, again for tomorrow, for the potential for impacts. And I really think this just repeats on a daily cycle with the potential for impacts and more showers and thunderstorms, even as we extend into next week. So now that we got through this evening, and before we start to look ahead going further into this week, and even taking a sneak peek into next week. Let's catch up on comments. I appreciate everyone tuning into this edition of Nate at 8. Drew saying, good evening. How are you doing this evening? I'm okay. How are you, Drew? Are we out of the woods for storms the rest of the night? The rain has ended in St. Clairsville. So, yeah, now is the ending of, we'll start to see a lot of this activity subside. So, right, we're still dealing with that strong thunderstorm moving through portions there of Brooke, Ohio County. Once we get past that, still some lingering showers, but the activity is going to start to dwindle at this point as we do extend through the overnight hours. Thanks for ado. Maynard, Ohio got 1 inch of rain today so far. Thanks there, Ian. Thanks for the report. And I thank you very much. You are very welcome. I appreciate that. Evening there, Austin. Today was absolutely miserable, extremely warm and sticky. Then later in the afternoon, saw leaves turning up and a storm like crazy, sharp lightning and strong winds, Austin says. Austin joining us from, I believe, Wetzel County, right, Austin? And you were under, maybe under that, depending on where you live in Wetzel County, under that severe thunderstorm warning. And yes, a lot of lightning with that thunderstorm that moved through Monroe, portions there of Wetzel County as it has moved through. Lots of lightning as well with that. Yes. So lots of that sharp, frequent lightning and some high wind gusts with that earlier into the evening. Todd says, thunderstorming in Scio right now. Thanks for the report there, Todd. Coming all the way from Jackson, Tennessee, Linda says. Well, thanks for joining us from Tennessee, Linda. Just checking up on family and Caddis. And yeah, things are quieting down now, thankfully, Linda. Things are starting to quiet down. Again, the more active weather right now that's lingering is Ohio County, Southern Brook is still dealing with some pretty gusty winds with that strong thunderstorm that continues for those areas. But for the most part now, things starting to quiet down. Michelle just saying all good in Caddis. Absolutely. Thanks for chiming that in there to Linda, Michelle. And storming like crazy toward the Ohio County Airport area, Melissa says. And yeah, we were just talking about that strong thunderstorm impacting that area. Sure seemed like St. C got a lot of rain in a short time period. And yes, again, picking up quite a bit of rain over a short period of time, that's for sure. Evening, Joe, raining hard in Bel Air. And thanks for the report there, Joe. And, thankfully we picked up quite a bit of rain, but thankfully the storms progressed fast enough that, getting that quick upwards of an inch of rain, not quite enough to cause those flooding concerns. But, if we were to have dealing with that quick burst of upwards of an inch of rain followed by another quick burst, you get the idea. If we were to have those storms just tracking over the same location, which we did see in spots into Pittsburgh, and we saw that a couple rounds of some torrential downpours just south of Noble, Monroe County, looking towards Marietta, especially just north of Marietta, where we did see that flash flood warning issued into this evening. So it certainly occurred in spots around us, but not quite here in eastern Ohio and the northern panhandle. But unfortunately, again, we just run that risk on a daily basis to deal with the more localized flash flooding, and in addition to dealing with some more strong to severe thunderstorms. Definitely warm and muggy here in St. C. Yes, definitely warm and muggy. And we'll look at that humidity, and again, just we'll map it out here in a minute. Certainly just does not look to lower, unfortunately, much at all here over even the next week. And I think a lot of next week as well, just not lowering much at all over the next couple of weeks. Evening, Jeffrey. Having a great lightning show, Jeffrey says, for this evening. It just ended in Bel Air, Joe says. Thank you for the reports. I appreciate it. And yes, we've been dealing with some of these, especially these severe thunderstorms, producing a lot of lightning throughout the course of this afternoon and evening. So once we get past Thursday, which again, I think a lot of the activity tomorrow that develops in the afternoon and evening is likely more along and south of I-70, just like what Futurecast was showing there. And a lot of this then tapers off overnight Thursday into Friday morning. And the activity that we see going throughout the day Friday is likely more isolated. It does look like coverage can lower on Friday, and then it'll pick back up for the weekend. So, we have lowered those rain chances for your Friday. Again, still can't rule out something more isolated for that shower and thunderstorm to wrap up the work week, but then coverage likely picks back up Saturday and Sunday. So again, for Thursday, the emphasis is going to be more along south of I-70. So I think rain chances are more isolated north of I-70 for tomorrow. And then all of us are going to be more of an isolated chance on Friday. And then it'll pick back up, and there's better odds across the area to deal with those showers and thunderstorms for both Saturday and Sunday. I don't see an emphasis north or south of I-70. I just see it across the area, dealing with those scattered showers and thunderstorms Saturday and Sunday. But again, for tomorrow, I do think it's going to be more along south of I-70. We can deal with greater coverage of those showers and thunderstorms for those areas for Thursday afternoon to evening. And again, for Friday, it starts to become more isolated across the area for those showers and thunderstorms. And coverage looks to be more isolated as well into early next week. But that being said, we still have that daily rain chance, right? Some days it does look like a great chance, but daily rain chances stay with us. At least something isolated cannot be rolled out in the afternoon to evening. And even when we're dealing with more of an isolated shower thunderstorm into Friday, anything that does develop, we'll have to still monitor. Even if it's more isolated, there is a potential that thunderstorm could mature and become severe, right? And we still could be dealing with a high wind threat. And also with torrential downpours, right? We also have to closely monitor that potential for flash flooding as well. Even with activity being more isolated Friday, this is something we just have to monitor on a daily basis. Just like what we were doing this evening, monitoring the showers and thunderstorms is just going to continue as we go through this weekend. And of course, stay tuned as well. Continue to give you updates going throughout the course of the afternoon and evening on, what are the areas of concern? Where are we watching, right? What are the potential impacts? And always tune in. News 9 Live at 5 to 6:30. Was giving those updates. Also, you can catch me on Nathan Shutt News 9 on Facebook, in Shutt WTOV. If you joining us on YouTube, maybe you don't have Facebook, you can catch it there on X on Nathan Shutt WTOV. So either on X or Facebook, you can catch me up on social media. I usually post updates there as well during the same time period. We're either on our show or between the show and Nate at 8. We'll be posting some updates there as well. So the rain chances, again, likely lowering a little bit Friday, but at least that isolated shower and thunderstorm continues just on a daily basis. Now, the one variable that changes a little bit going into the weekend, I think, will be the temperatures. I think we do trend a little bit cooler of that stretch from Friday into Monday. Yes, we can even get a little bit below normal for our high temperatures. We can hold it in the 70s Friday and likely more lower 80s then for the weekend and into Monday. Tomorrow, high temperatures look similar with respect to today. So still, very warm and humid Thursday. But as temperatures drop off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday, guess what doesn't drop too much? The humidity. Yes. So while, we do see those temperatures lowering a bit, unfortunately, we don't get back to tolerable, pleasant, or refreshing humidity levels. We still just remain in that range of uncomfortable to unbearable. Now, do we see some improvement, with respect to what I think we can see tomorrow? Yes. There is at times where the humidity isn't absolutely horrendous. There are times where that will be the case here as we go through the weekend. That can be the case going into your Friday. That can be the case going into your Monday, where it's not absolutely horrendous. Now, in the red is the unbearable or more horrendous humidity levels, and that's the range we're likely in tonight as well as tomorrow. We could deal with dew points even reaching upwards of the mid-70s. Tropical air mass at that point. I mean, just horrendous humidity levels. It's going to be extremely unbearable. When you're dealing with dew points mid-70s, upper 70s, that is, well, first of all, it's rare for us to deal with dew points to that extent. It's possible. If we reach above the mid-70s, that is very rare for us to deal with those dew points that high at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. If we were into the upper 70s for a dew point going through tomorrow, I think there's a chance at least the mid-70s, which is uncommon. I think we can deal with the mid 70s, though. We've been there earlier into the year. I think, earlier into this, not this year, but this stretch that we started since the end of June going into July, during this humid stretch over the past almost month now. We've been to that extent, and we can't get to around that extent tomorrow. Now, from there, coming off of the horrendous humidity levels, yes, it can feel at least a little more tolerable going into Friday. It'll pick back up likely into the weekend, and then it can lower some again Monday. So, but in general, as we can see, unfortunately, not getting back to pleasant or refreshing humidity levels, and unfortunately, not anytime here soon. And I don't unfortunately see it next week either. As it stands now, I don't see it into next week either. Just there's no real relief from the warmth and humidity. There's no cool, refreshing day in sight as we look ahead. So, but especially the humidity. I know the temperatures, The temperatures aren't really excessive, right? During the stretch, we do get some cooler days in the mix, back closer to 80, but the humidity is certainly more excessive than the temperatures. And we'll deal, like Drew said, 75 dew point feels like Florida. Absolutely, it does. Yes, Drew. That's another good way to get out the angry emoji with a 75-degree dew point. Yes, absolutely. Joe says, thank you, Nathan, for doing this for us. Appreciate it. You're welcome there, Joe. Thanks for tuning in. Jeffrey, a few hours ago, in Bel Air, the rain made it up to the curb in front of the building, so it was hard for me to get into the building, Jeffrey says. And a storm drain just can't keep up with those torrential downpours, huh? And then we even made it up to the curb. And yeah, just rains so hard that and the storm drains just cannot keep up. Cannot keep up. Can warmer weather bring more insects like ants and bees, Austin says? And that would be an interesting question if anyone is familiar more with insects. But I would have to take a good guess that yes, I would believe that the warmer weather can bring more insects. But that would be an interesting question if anyone is more of an expert on insects. If maybe they could chime in and answer that for Austin. But yes, my guess would be yes, but I do not know for sure. But that is an interesting question, Austin, for sure. For the warmer temperatures equal more insects. Good question. So let's jump into the 9+1 day forecast. As we do look ahead, well, the icons, they look similar, right? A lot of the same, dealing with that storm icon. And yes, for a lot of these days, it can be similar. We'll deal with more of those hit or miss showers and thunderstorms developing in the afternoon and evening on really almost a daily basis. Now, again, I think for tomorrow, it's more along south of I-70 is going to be the best odds to see more of those showers and thunderstorms developing into the afternoon and evening. And then for Friday, yes, most of us can stay dry to wrap up the work week as activity becomes more isolated. But by this weekend, coverage will likely pick back up. The emphasis this weekend will be into the afternoon and evening, but I will note that we can deal with some showers and thunderstorms Sunday morning. I don't see much Saturday morning, but for Sunday morning, I do think we can still see some showers and thunderstorms. So keep that in mind if you're planning anything this weekend. You know, it's not a washout Saturday and Sunday, but if you're planning anything this weekend, just keep that in mind. If you're doing anything outdoors Sunday morning, it's not quite rain-free. I think we can have at least a few showers and thunderstorms around for the beginning of Sunday. But yes, the emphasis certainly in this pattern will remain into the afternoon and evening. Coverage in looks to drop off going into early next week. We'll deal with more of isolated to widely scattered showers and thunderstorms, but yes, the chance, at least the chance, does continue as we go into next week. And even the chance for something isolated does look to continue into next Thursday as well as next Saturday. You know, it's the lower chance, but I think there's something at least isolated possible into those days. Whoa! Oh man, that was really close. Pardon my sudden jump scare there, but we completely went black for just a split second, and that thunder was so loud that I thought the window was going to blow. So that lightning strike was extremely close. Wow. I'm sure it struck the tower, which is right outside the window, but I'm guessing that lightning traveled down and might have impacted the side of the building. Wow, that was terrifying. Oh my goodness. But I think we're still on air. I think we're doing good. But yeah, that was very frightening. That was extremely close lightning. Wow. So let's get back to it, though. 9+1 day forecast. So yes, showers and thunderstorms on really daily basis. Yes, those showers and thunderstorms. And again, the coverage isn't going to be widespread every day. You know, it's generally more hit or miss, but it is just something we'll have to continue to watch for every day. Man, really, I think for almost every day here over the next 10 days, it's a pretty unsettled pattern. You know, this is similar to what we've dealt with really since the end of June, now continuing as we extend into the end of July. Again, after this week, it's going to make a month long, I think, that we've dealt with lows. I think we've got a good chance to continue lows 63 plus. 63 plus. 63 has been our coolest low since the 21st of June. And I think we can continue that here. Yes, there's some cooler lows in the mid 60s, but in the lower 60s, I think we're not going to get quite to that extent. And I think there's that potential that we maintain that stretch of 63 plus lows here throughout the next week. And we'd be surpassing, a month at that point from the 21st of June to the 21st of July, and dealing with quite a historically humid stretch because, this time of the year, especially when you're dealing with, some of these humid conditions, you're also dealing with some pretty warm, muggy nights. They often coincide because a dew point could be the limiting factor to how much temperatures cool. So while we can't really look up, we could dig it up. It's harder to dig up statistics on dew points, but it's easier to dig up statistics on low temperatures. So that is often a good indication of dealing with some pretty muggy conditions, right? When you're dealing with more warmer nights. So that being said, at this stretch that I think we can maintain over the next week and even into next week, I think this can be the longest stretch on record of dealing with low 63 plus for the Wheeling area. And there's potential, even dating back since the late 1800s, for Pittsburgh area to also be dealing with the longest stretch on record. Their coolest low has been 64. So there's potential for both of those. Again, the highest possibly on record for Wheeling as well as Pittsburgh in our area. Longest stretch of these warm nights of 63 plus for Wheeling, 64 plus for Pittsburgh. So interesting perspective, just interesting thing to note. So, if you take that into consideration with, also likely coinciding with some humid conditions, this could be, if you consider that the most humid stretch that we've had, the longest stretch of humid conditions we've had on record for both Wheeling and Pittsburgh. It's certainly possible. So yes, this is a historic stretch of prolonged humid conditions that is no relief, unfortunately, in sight going throughout the remainder of this week or into next week as well. Jeffrey says, I remember a year back, Nelson Field was flooded, and my brother posted on Snapchat, anyone up for kayak racing? Oh my goodness, Jeffrey. Oh my, please stay safe, Nate. That scared me. And yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. That really took me off guard. That was really loud. Well, I saw everything flash, and then I figured it was really close. And then all of a sudden, you hear the thunder immediately after. But yeah, I thought the window was going to blow. It was that thunder was so loud. I was going to say your graphics glitched for a second. You're still online. All right. Well, good to hear there, Drew. That is good. So I'm glad that everything was okay. And now we'll go see if hopefully everything is okay here at the station. But yes, thankfully, it definitely hit very close. But thankfully, everything seems okay here. So hopefully everything will be okay. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning into this edition of Nate at 8. I appreciate it as always. I hope everyone has a wonderful night. Of course, you can catch me coming up News 9 at 10 on Fox 9, News 9 tonight at 11 for the latest on some of these lingering showers and thunderstorms. Again, at this point, activity is going to start to wind down as we go into the overnight hours. In fact, before we say goodbye, I do want to go back and double check. We've been talking for a minute here, and I just want to check live radar here one more time before we say goodbye. Let's check up on what we're dealing with. It's always good, when we're still dealing with some showers and thunderstorms. What remains, right? So let's check up on it one more time before we say goodbye. So this is what we're currently dealing with. So there's that strong thunderstorm. So now it's moving out of Ohio and Brooke County. So now we're dealing with that stronger thunderstorm moving out, actually getting some activity building back. That's kind of surprising to see. I'm surprised to see some more showers redeveloping there. Into Guernsey, Belmont, and Harrison County, but nothing obviously strong with that or severe. But so yeah, there are some additional showers building back in, and while coverage is more isolated, there are still some showers meandering around the central Ohio. So I'll still watch. In general, at this point, as we get closer, especially towards 10, 11 o'clock, couple hour window, I think, still in general to deal with some lingering showers. But at this point, activity is going to be more on a downward trend. And is that a new warning? It looks like that is. So it certainly does, doesn't it? It looks like it's flashing. That's going to be, it's out of our area. It's out of our area, but that's that storm that we were referencing earlier that was strong. But it looks like that, let's see if we can. It does look like that is, I have a better idea. So let's go to, let's get this to pop up. But yeah, this is out of our area. This is outside of the northern panhandle. Also looks like a flash flood warning they went ahead and issued for these locations as well. So that's north of Washington, PA, towards Pittsburgh. Again, this is out of our area. This is out of the northern panhandle. But yeah, that was a strong thunderstorm moving through those locations, and now gaining a little more steam and issued that severe thunderstorm warning. Let's see, get those wind speeds. Maybe they had some wind damage reports. Radar not estimating too much for those wind speeds, but maybe they had some reports and issued the warning off of that. Let's look at storm reports one last time. And we had the couple, those were from earlier. So those were from earlier out of Brooke County. No new reports there. But yes, new severe thunderstorm warning outside of our area, north of Washington, going towards Pittsburgh, the western PA. That's moving out, and some showers building back in. So we'll continue to watch what remains with some of these lingering showers. Again, at this point, the severe risk, flooding risk is going to start to subside, but we do have some lingering showers to continue to monitor. Make sure they don't gain any more steam, right, as we go throughout this evening. We'll watch these continuing in general the next couple of hours. So, 8:45 now as we get up closer to 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock during the news. This is when we'll likely start to see activity start to dwindle more and then likely drying up for the latter part of tonight. So, yes, we're still going to keep a close eye on what does remain, but not too much coming our way. In terms of anything impactful, I think that risk is starting to subside now and some lingering showers, but again, coverage will start to drop off likely leading up to midnight and then drying up for the most part, I think, after that point into tomorrow morning. I'll catch up on a couple more comments. Drew, by the way, we're at the only region with severe storms. My old hometown of Baltimore is under tornado watch the rest of the night. And that's always the worst, isn't it? Dealing with the potential for, especially tornadoes overnight is a scary situation. Certainly hope nothing serious happens towards Baltimore overnight with that tornado watch. Have a good night, Nate. Thank you, Jeffrey. You too. I'll see you. I see how we get our rain in the summer, and yeah, we a lot of fuel for those showers and thunderstorms. The humidity, that is for sure a lot of fuel for those showers and thunderstorms. A lot of moisture for those to tap into, continuing that localized flooding concern here as we go through the weekend into next weekend on a daily basis as well. I think that potential for a strong severe thunderstorm, high winds being the primary concern, much like this evening. That potential is there. Drew says, thanks, Nate. I'll catch you on the 11th. Thank you, Drew. Thanks for tuning in. Sounds good. Catch you on the 11 as well. I appreciate everyone tuning into this edition of Nate at 8. I hope everyone has a wonderful night. Again, catch me coming up 10 o'clock on Fox 9. Join me and Drew at 11 o'clock on WTOB 9. And as always, for the next edition of 8 at 8 tomorrow evening, right? Bring the latest on what we're tracking Thursday afternoon and evening. I appreciate it as always. Hope everyone has a wonderful night, and I'll see you on the next edition of 8 at 8.